You are participating in this meeting. You are consenting to being recorded and to the use of those recordings for broadcasting. If you have any queries regarding this, please speak to a council officer. There are no fire drills scheduled this evening. If the fire alarm sounds, please leave the building immediately by the nearest available fire exit. If you are unable to use the stairs, a member of staff will assist you. First aid trained security officers are available within the room should you need any assistance. Members, if you wish to raise a point of order at any time this evening, please indicate to me that you wish to speak, and when called, please stand and advise me of it. Please be reminded that a point of order can only relate to alleged breach of the council rules of procedure in the Constitution or of the law. When you raise your point of order, you must indicate the rule or law and the way in which you consider it has been broken, and I will then take advice and make a ruling on this. Please also ensure mobile phones and laptops are on silent throughout the meeting. Are there any apologies for absence? Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have apologies from Councillor Budner and Councillor Paul.
Thank you. Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Rice is trying to get online, and Councillor Golby will be online, and Councillor Page will be a few moments late. Thank you.
Councillor Austin.
Councillor Austin sends apologies for lateness. He's on his way, but we're here in about half an hour.
Foley.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. We're both here.
Are there any declarations of interest? No declarations, thank you. Those have been noted, thank you. We have the minutes of annual meeting held on 20th of May 2026. Is there any dissent to these meetings? Oh, sorry, minutes. I do apologise. Sorry. As there is no dissent, I shall take this as agreed. Thank you. I invite the leader to provide your announcements. Councillor Garrard, the Mayor. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and it's great to be back at the first ordinary council meeting since the election, where the good people of Merton not only returned a Labour administration, but one with an increased majority. And we've been busy throughout that period, and there's so much to talk about, but I know it is an extremely special day today. And I'd like to wish Councillor Mitchell a very happy birthday. But we know that there's other events happening this evening as well. And in the spirit of time and interest, I will limit my remarks. And I'd like to thank all of those across the chamber that have either deferred their maiden speech or withdrawn from asking questions to make sure that we make good progress. And as the leader of the London Borough Sport, I hope that the match tonight is a roaring success for the Three Lions. Thank you.
The next item is the public questions. You have a list in front of you of 19 questions from members of the public. Answers have been provided by the appropriate cabinet member. Each questioner was invited to notify the council in advance of the meeting if they wish to ask a supplementary question. When your name is called, please come forward to the public questions desk at the rear of the chamber or unmute your microphone to ask your question online. Please note that you may ask one question and it should be a question, not a statement. We have 30 minutes for this item, and we will get through as many questions as we are able to in the time allocated. We have a large number of questions indicated tonight, so please keep your questions and your responses so you can get through as many as possible. The first supplementary question is from George Hadriansken, who is online. Please, can you ask your question now?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the Deputy Leader's response to my question. I just wanted to ask on the topic of potential sewage affecting the Wandle. Dr. Alan Khan, the Labour MP for Tooting, raised recently on social media that there was over 160 hours of sewage dumping into the Wandle. Can I ask, what is Merton Council doing to take action on this and prevent any effects on Wandle Park?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, George, for your question and for your supplementary. And as not only the Cabinet member responsible for environment and climate change and parks, but also the ward councillor for the Wandle ward, the health of the Wandle is extremely important to us. We're still worried about the previous major sewage incident when oil got into the river over a year ago now. I've asked for further updates on that because there's still that investigation is still underway. We want to make sure we're holding Thames Water and anyone else who's polluting our rivers absolutely to account. And we're working closely with the other boroughs that border Wandle on improvement works and with the Environment Agency on the catchment project to do everything we can to protect this vital chalk stream in our borough. Thank you.
Next question is from Sarah McAllister.
Thank you for your response to my first question. In it, you correctly pointed out that only a small part of the gas holder application at Motspur Park falls within Merton. However, it will have massive impact on Merton residents' lives, especially in terms of travel and personal safety. I'll just give a couple of examples to illustrate the Merton residents' concerns. West Barnes Lane is already gridlocked.
Excuse me, could you ask the question, please?
I will. In terms of travel and personal safety, you've said that you have you've raised concerns with Kingston Council, but only about the matter of an alleyway in Marina Avenue, not about transport and other matters. Is the council certain that all the impacts on Merton residents have been mitigated against, and if not by Merton, then who is responsible?
Councillor Judge.
Thank you, Ms McAllister, for that supplementary question. There has been no member view, either at the Cabinet or the Planning Committee levels, about this application because it's now been called in by the GLA. However, Merton's transport planner will be attending the hearing, and if there is anything that requires his professional expertise in relation to transport, he will be able to advise the hearing. And of course, it is open to local residents and ward councillors indeed to make representations. Thank you.
Next question is from Regina Denton. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the original reply to my question. I just want to come back to litter and how to prevent from being litter bins being overflowing and added more litter. Could be more done to raise awareness of the environment consequences such as health and safety hazards, especially around the children's playground. For example, would it be possible to involve local primary schools in creating posters and maybe also stickers to put on litter bins so to that effect, so that people are made aware that, you know, this is not, it's not good for our environment, it's not good for the parks and for the children themselves if rubbish is being left outside all over the place. And I think prevention would really be better than having to clear up the mess afterwards.
Thank you, Councillor Stringer.
Thank you, Ms Denton, for her question and supplementary. This is something we are really passionate about. I'm very happy to work with yourselves, with all councillors, with our schools to do everything we can to make people aware that littering is not acceptable, that putting rubbish next to bins is fly tipping and littering and causes, as you say, lots of hazards. We've already done in the past such campaigns. We regularly put out lots on our social media, and I'm always interested in ideas on how we can encourage our residents, most of which who look after our parks, how we can encourage all of our residents to look after our parks because we love them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. There are no further questions, so we will move on. We now move on to item 6, councillors' questions to cabinet members. These have been published along with the responses from cabinet members. Please ensure all supplementary questions are brief and not a statement, and we will get through as many as possible in the 30 minutes allotted. Please, can you also be succinct in your responses so we can try to get through all the questions? Firstly, Councillor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As residents across Merton look forward to an exciting summer, which will include highlights such as the All England Championships and, of course, watching England bring football home, could the Cabinet member outline what further events Merton residents can look forward to this summer?
Councillor Stringer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to thank Councillor Rodriguez for his question and for his commitment to cultural activities in our borough. You were definitely having a good old dance at the start of the Lime Festival, weren't you? So look, there is lots going on in the borough, so I'm going to keep this very brief, but there's absolutely loads going on. So do follow the What's in Merton channels, do get subscribed to all our newsletters. This week we have the Cannon Summer Fair coming up this weekend. We've got worked with Councillor Cooper Marbia. We've got more sports coming to our big screens across Wonder Park, the Cannons and Morden, with things like the Tour de France, the British Open and Commonwealth Games. We've got cultural offerings going on in Wimbledon Park and Morden Park, commercial ones over the summer, and then the big Borough Sports Day on the 6th of September. There's always something going on in Merton. Come and support your local borough activities.
Councillor Hakeem.
Thank you to the Cabinet member for your reply. The Cabinet member hasn't addressed my questions about variations in park quality. So will she commit to publishing a borough-wide parks improvement plan, including an audit of conditions in all parks, so that residents can see how investment is being spent where it's most needed?
Councillor Stringer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Hakeem, for your question and for your commitment to our parks. We are absolutely committed to our parks. What I was clear is that each of our parks is different. We have a plan for each of that. That is going into the contract that we are finalising with the new contractor coming into place in November. We regularly report to scrutiny about our KPIs and our outcomes, and that would be the appropriate place to ask any questions about the maintenance of our parks across the borough. Thank you.
Councillor Sherry-Jinsko.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's great to hear how Council has increased the number of range of free sporting opportunities as a part of its Borough of Sport ambition. Could the Cabinet member tell us how else we are supporting residents to get involved with the sports over the summer? Thank you.
Councillor Cooper Marbia.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and to my colleague for her supplementary question. Our pioneering Borough Sport Initiative continues to deliver activities for our residents in the borough. And this summer is no different from others, from the previous ones. So for this year, for example, we have free tennis in most of our parks, and they can be played on one of the highest grades tennis court in the country. Our free swimming for adults and for children under 16 continue to expand. And just today, Madam Mayor, you helped us, you along with the leader of the council, help us to open the first of 4 play zone in Sherwood Park. That's where the people in the community will be able to play cricket, football, basketball, and all of that. So we are continuing to expand on our offer. And if I can just say, the summer of sport will culminate into our big sport day, as Councillor Stringer just said. And so we'll be inviting everyone to come out and have fun in the park. And before I sit down, can I just wish our England team a great success this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Orson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I thank the Cabinet member for his response. The most recent government rankings have the condition of Merton Road at red on the scorecard, the lowest possible ranking. In October 2023, the last Conservative government gave councils an extra 8.3 billion of funding for pothole repair. I'm not sure what's causing that, which gave Merton £372,000 in additional funding. Why has the Labour administration failed to improve the borough's roads during this time?
Well, thank you very much for the original and the supplementary question, and welcome to the chamber. It's great to have you alongside with Councillor Comer in the village. I'm sure you'll be excellent councillors for the area. I'm incredibly proud of the work that we've done to improve our roads. We invested £5 million this year, continuing that investment that we've been putting in for many years into our roads, and we will continue to do so. Keeping on top of potholes is a major priority for this council, and we've had a lot of very positive conversations with Conway. And if there's any particular areas of concern in the village that you'd like to discuss with me, I'd be very happy to come and chat with you at any time and visit the area.
Thank you. Councillor Shearer.
Thank you. It's great to hear that the Article 4 directive is being extended across the borough. Can the Cabinet member outline what impact we can expect this to have, and whether it will give residents more of a say of what happens in their communities?
Councillor Judge.
Thank you, Councillor Shearer, for your supplementary question. It means that where there is when there is a proposal to change a house into a HMO, there has to be first a planning application, which gives local residents the opportunity to make representations on any matters of concern. And this process should deliver quality assurance on design issues, so that planning officers considering applications will be concerned to ensure design is appropriate in terms of room sizes, shared facilities, waste presentation, and noise insulation. And that should improve conditions for residents who live nearby and those who live in the converted properties. Thank you.
Councillor Foley.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the Cabinet member for his reply, and I'm very pleased that there's the councillor taking up this new strategy to deal with customer queries. Could he tell me and give a clear timescale and reasonable target for delivering that commitment? Thank you.
I thank Councillor Foley for his original question. Appreciate that he appreciates the written answer. I appreciate the supplementary, and we will not exert any extra time in sorting this issue out.
Councillor Platt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. May I first commend Merton Council for its work to improve our green and public spaces throughout the borough, including in my own ward, Lavender Fields. From new trees to street planters to outdoor gyms, pocket parks and green flag awards, these investments have been transformative. Can the Cabinet member comment on what plans there are to further invest in and improve our public and green spaces?
Councillor Stringer.
And thank you, Councillor Platts, for his first question in this chamber, and also for his commitment to parks and green spaces. I know he played a really active role in the Friends of Hayden's Road Recreation Group when he lived there, and is now really committed to the parks in his area in Lavender. And we've got lots of plans. We've got a new contractor coming on later on this year who we're going to work with closely to make sure that they're doing lots of community engagement and working not just with us as the council, but the volunteer groups and the residents who use our parks. We ourselves have got £3.5 million committed for future expenditure on parks and open spaces, including, as you say, new pocket parks. But we're also constantly looking for further funding. And we're currently looking, for example, at bids to invest in parks like Lavender Fields in Councillor Platts' ward. We are one of the leafiest boroughs in London, and we take absolute great pride in keeping it this way.
Thank you. Councillor Ashraf.
Thank you. Thank you also for the response to the question. While I fully appreciate the additional officer support and training, which is very much welcomed for Friends groups, what hasn't really been addressed in the actual response is the question related to funding for Friends groups. So I just want to understand what the specific funding is available to Friends groups. How much was available last year, in the last financial year, and is there any case that we'll have additional funding going forward for the next 12 months or next 24 months going forward. And I would like to add to that there are pressures on these groups to address things like climate related issues and pressures such as droughts, flooding and the loss of biodiversity as a result of it. So thank you very much.
Councillor Stringer.
Thank you, Councillor Al-Shraf, for your question. But all those things you mentioned, the biodiversity, the flood resilience, they are our responsibilities. The parks are our parks that we as a council look after for our residents. We work with our friends really closely to make sure that we're prioritising the things that are most important. And so the funding that we provide is often to projects in a park working in collaboration with a friends group. What I'm really excited about with the new contractor is they've got ideas for doing more skilling up and training for the volunteers, and then we can help to think about supporting them to bring in further external investment into their local parks. But rest assured that we as a council see ourselves as the guarantors and safekeeping of all of our parks and all their resilience in the future. Thank you.
Councillor Daniel.
No supplementary, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Carisi, response? 200? No, okay. Councillor MacArthur.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to the Cabinet Member for your response. While local communities have stepped up to provide gazebos and water during extreme heat, the Council seems to have offered nothing but advice. Now, the Cabinet Member has pointed to the School Condition Allocation Grant. That grant was worth 2.9 million to Merton this year. So can she give examples of that funding being used to increase climate resilience in schools, and what ideas does she have for this year? Thank you.
Councillor Kenny.
I thank Councillor MacArthur for her supplementary questions, and I'm very proud of how our schools have operated. Not one school shut on the red alert, and they don't. They leave it up to parents if they want to collect their children. We have, as I put in my answer, all the strategies we're using to advise schools. Most schools have shaded areas for their children already, and we support schools in developing the strategies that we put through. But we're looking to the future. Quite a few of our schools do have air conditioning, all the new builds have, the extensions to schools have, and it's something we look to extend. But as you know, that's a very costly item to include.
Thank you. Councillor Johnston.
No supplementary, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Hall. Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry. Thank the Cabinet Member for her original answer. And I note in it that consultation is expected to be undertaken by the organiser before the events are approved. I believe that residents deserve to know whether these events are being matched by clear benefit to their communities. Will the Cabinet Member publish annual data on event income, restoration costs and the number of days parks are partially unavailable? And also whether that consultation has actually been undertaken by the organisers. Thank you.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, thank you, Councillor Hall, for your question. I also saw you at the start of the Line Festival. I don't think I saw you dancing like Councillor Rodriguez. I think I saw you going around with a notepad trying to find errors and faults with our brilliant community event, which is at odds with the feedback that we got from everybody else who attended there. As I said in my answer, we have a lot of people wanting to use our parks because they're such brilliant places for events. We turn down most of them because we take our role as the gatekeeper, the safeguarder of our parks incredibly seriously, and we only put on events where we think there will be benefit to local residents, both through the income that it generates for us to feed back into our parks, and also as cultural events. All of our income and expenditure is published in our accounts, so that would provide the information that she requires. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Manley.
Madam Mayor, no supplementary question.
Councillor Flack.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the original answer to my question. And I do look forward to receiving the full list from the Cabinet Member. In the meantime, will she commit to taking action within the next 12 months to prevent a repeat of the flash flooding experienced in Rains Park on the 22nd of June?
Councillor Stringer.
Thank you very much. As I think I've mentioned already, flood resilience is something we've taken very, very seriously. I think that flooding was more of a Councillor Neveson responsibility, but I know we are working with Thames Water looking at the potential solutions. Sorry, that's not me rugby passing it, but yes, we are well aware of the flooding that happens regularly in Rains Park, given the geology there, and we're working closely on the solutions. Thank you.
Councillor Dresselars.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to the Cabinet Member for her answer. The numbers provided here are vastly different to the Freedom of Information response received in June, which said that 225 trees for streets had been requested, but only 89 planted. So is it or is it not true that 60% of trees for streets ordered have still not been planted? And why doesn't the Council know which ones it is supposed to order?
Thank you, Councillor Stringer.
I'd like to thank Councillor Dresselars for her question, her supplementary, and her commitment to trees. I don't have to hand why there was the exact discrepancy. I know that we know very closely exactly which trees have been planted or not, and I'm very happy to look into that and get back to her separately.
Thank you. Councillor Welton.
I have no supplementary, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Paul.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to the Cabinet Member for her response. The Cabinet Member points to the budget envelope in her answer. I noticed the Council Leader is spending over £100,000 to expand his staffing team, but opening all of Merton's paddling pools from the start of summer would only cost £53,000. Politics is about choices. Does she agree that the Leader needs to get his priorities straight?
Councillor Stringer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor, for your question. I think paddling pools and splash pads are absolutely great. I think they're great. Joe, because I think they're great, we have 8 of them in our borough. How many are there in Live Them Run Kingston? 0. How many are there in Live Them Run Sutton? 0. So you should be proud that we have some of the highest amount of water play areas in the whole of London, and that we open them for the whole summer holidays and some for a month earlier for all of our families to enjoy. Thank you.
Sorry, I do apologise. Councillor Phillips, I believe you have a supplementary question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Reassuring to hear how the Safer Streets teams have been working in partnership with the CCTV and the police to tackle shoplifting and associated antisocial behaviour. Could the Cabinet Member tell us more about the targeted interventions that the Safer Streets teams have helped with and how successful these have been?
Thank you. Councillor Macaulay.
Madam Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Phillips for your supplementary question. Operation Nexus strengthens joint work with the police, CCTV and businesses on shoplifting and related town centre antisocial behaviour. A recent operation in May showed us that it resulted in £415 saved in recovering goods, 2 community protection warnings issued, 1 arrest, 1 banning order, and also from Sainsbury's in Modern Town Centre, and the advisory letters have now been issued. The operations will also allow businesses to trial in town centre links with radio system and to encourage better communication between businesses and also with the police. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Hogan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Alan-Breitis, for your reply to my question, which sets out Merton's record in responsible financial management, and of course how that enables long-term investments in things like the £30 million in Morden Town Centre and building the first new council homes in a generation. Now, in the recent elections, the Labour won an increased majority on the promise to continue that record of managing the council finances well. Could the Cabinet Member outline, please, how we plan to manage the finances well in the future? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Alan-Breitis.
I'd like to thank Councillor Hogan, welcome him, thank him for his question. It's pretty simple. We will continue to be business-like, even on a cold, wet Tuesday evening in Stoke. Thank you.
Councillor Butcher.
No supplementary, Madam Mayor.
And the final question, Councillor Kirby.
No supplementary, thank you.
Item 7, Wimbledon Community Forum. Is that report noted? Thank you. Item 8, Mitcham Community Forum. Is that noted? Item 9, Morden Community Forum. Is that noted? Item 10, Rains Park Community Forum. Is that noted? Thank you. Item 11, Liberal Democrat motion. Councillor Hall, please move this motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm delighted to propose this motion concerning the use of glyphosate in our parks and green spaces. Now, we appreciate that the administration intends to end its use by 2030, but we're asking for this to be brought forward. Government guidelines state it's for each local authority to decide the best way of delivering effective and cost-effective weed control in its operations without harming people or the environment. There's a legal requirement to minimise the use of pesticides along roads and in areas used by the public. In Merton, we're aware of the concerns that many of our residents are voicing about its continued use. We should be responding to those concerns by looking into alternatives. While recognising that the new parks contractor will be withdrawing its use by 2030, the pace of this withdrawal hasn't yet been agreed. Neither have the measurements or protocols to see how this will work and the alternatives to be used. We're asking for better planning, full transparency, and efficiently administered trials with comprehensive measurements. Thanks to my fellow ward colleague, Councillor Rice, we managed to secure a glyphosate-free trial in Wimbledon Park, arguably the best park in the borough, of course unbiased. We have an opportunity here to show residents that we are listening to their concerns and we're taking them seriously. We need to show that we are accountable and that we have the ambition to find alternatives that work through trials. From threats to pollinators and biodiversity to worries about impacts on children and pets, public concern is widespread and it must be taken seriously. We note that alternatives already exist and are being used successfully elsewhere. Hammersmith and Fulham stopped spraying glyphosate 10 years ago. Labour-run Cambridge stopped 7 years ago. If they can do it, why can't we? Successive governments have expressed concerns about glyphosate, especially since many European countries banned its use. The current government expects councils to minimise use of pesticides, not in 4 years' time, but now. Tonight, we can show that as a council, we are prepared to act. So more trials, more planning, more thought, more measurement, more action. Just in case you weren't listening, because I know some of you just wait to be told how to vote, this is what we're asking for. To end the routine use of glyphosate-based pesticides in Merton's parks and open spaces by the end of the 2027-28 financial year, and replacing them with alternative weed management methods wherever practicable, and publish on a 6-monthly basis the quantity of glyphosate-based pesticides used in Merton's parks and open spaces. It's a no-brainer, surely. Madam Mayor, I beg to move.
This is being seconded by Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I just say, I think you deserve summer robes in this heat. I'm pleased to second this motion. We've heard the council has ambitions to reduce the use of pesticides, but they won't be realised soon enough. Like Morden Regeneration, residents want to see change now, not a light box and funding promised 4 years in the future. Resident surveys tell us how valued Merton green spaces are. It was something I also heard in conversations on the doorstep during the local elections, from Ravensbury to my own ward in Rains Park. And it was something I saw when I joined a local resident and passionate volunteer at one of my local parks who was keen to show me the damaging impact of pesticides. We entered Cottenham Park from Cambridge Road at the nearest entrance to the park's playground. The first thing she pointed out was the unusually neat and bleached grass running along the playground fence. As we headed up through the park, we saw the same thing around the legs of a picnic bench. We then passed the park's most famous resident, an oak tree believed to be more than 250 years old. Its branches stretch out far and wide, some of them supported by wooden posts. We then follow the path along the top of the park next to Melbury Gardens. A dead strip of yellowed plants can be seen along the perimeter fence, in complete contrast to the shades of green filling the borders around us. Next, we come to a wildlife garden, planted and maintained by volunteers, before turning back down the path towards Cambridge Road. A row of horse chestnuts, a future hedgehog highway, grow up on our right. A wildflower bed obscures the cricket wicket on our left. My guide points out old hawthorn logs, left around the borders to support stag beetles. The yellow hues of native wild primrose flowers grow up around them, bees buzzing the flowers of purple dead nettle. Again, we see a dead brown strip of plants just beyond them, along the park's perimeter, which is also a regular route for Cambridge Road's badgers. As we leave the park, she asks why the council invests in the logs, the hedgehog highway, props up the old oak tree and plants wildflowers, but continues to use pesticides in the park, threatening so much of its wildlife. I don't have an answer for her. As we've heard from Council Hall, we have willing volunteers to support a different approach. Now we just need the political will to deliver it.
I have the following listed to speak. Councillor Stringer-O'Gara. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, Madam Mayor, I know we have lots of new colleagues here across the chamber. Welcome. Congratulations to you all. I know there's already been some extensive training and induction. I'd like to thank the officers for the time they've put into the induction programme. But I'd like to use this speech as part of the induction programme for new councillors, an induction on how the Merton Lib Dems operate. So, Madam Mayor, you and my more experienced colleagues know the drill, but let's educate our newer members. When the Lib Dems decide to put forward a motion to the council, they really struggle. They know our achievements, they know what a well-run and financially efficient council we are, they know that our resident satisfaction is high, but they still want to claim to fight for something. So what do? What they do is they find something that we're already doing, and they say, yes, great, but do a bit more of that, or yes, but can you do it a bit faster? It's pointless, it's boring, it's a waste of everyone's time. But then that's the Lib Dems for you. Madam Mayor, colleagues, this is a perfect example of this. Our parks are excellent. Our residents love that they are well maintained, but our commitment to biodiversity is unwavering. So we already minimise the use of any potentially harmful weed killer. We are already talking to our community about their thoughts, and we are already committed to phasing out its use completely. So to this end, we're busy getting on with the work, testing alternatives, collaborating with other councils, working with a new contractor about how they will phase out glyphosate completely and making sure that is in the contract explicitly. Meanwhile, while we're working hard, the Lib Dems are offering no solutions, just some warm words welcoming our approach, words that mirror their leaders' approach at the hustings before the election, recognising that we are doing all we can. So there we go, that's your induction lesson in how to be a Lib Dem councillor. Agree with the other side and then waste time trying to look like you don't. Madam Mayor, we reject this motion.
Councillor Fairclough.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'm very pleased to be coming back on Councillor Stringer's response. I wanted to say, and I've written here, it's very clear this evening that this isn't a debate about whether we care about our parks and open spaces. Everyone in this chamber does, but after that, Madam Mayor, I'm not actually convinced. It isn't a debate about whether glyphosate should disappear eventually. We've already heard, and we know, the council intends to phase it out, but the real question is simple. If we accept that the routine glyphosate use should come to an end, why should we wait longer than we need to? We should be minimising. Now, apparently, we already do a lot, but in 2024, Merton recorded the second highest herbicide use of any London borough, at around 3,300 kilograms. Our proposal asks the council to be ambitious. It requires better planning, meaningful trials, proper measurement, transparency over use, and a faster transition where alternatives are shown to work. They hide behind the contract, Madam Mayor, but a contract isn't a block, it's an opportunity to put in place some plans. We've heard tonight about residents who want to see change. We've heard about volunteers who already give their time to care for parks, and we've heard a lot of heckling from the Labour front bench, as I often do. We've heard about the effect of routine spraying it has in places like Wimbledon Park and Cottenham Park. Those residents and volunteers aren't asking for miracles, they're simply asking that the administration doesn't waste their time. They're asking us to match our environmental ambitions with our actions. So if members believe the council is already moving in this direction, then supporting this motion simply means moving with greater purpose and greater urgency. If, however, members vote against it tonight, your induction to being a Labour councillor, Madam Mayor, they should explain to residents while waiting until 2030, going back in time, is preferable with the Labour, is preferable to making faster progress where we can. I hope members will support the motion, Madam Mayor, but I'm fairly sure that they will not.
Yeah, yeah. This one. As there are no further speakers on this motion, Councillor Hall, would you like to use your right of reply?
No, that's okay, thanks.
I will now call for a vote on the motion. Please raise your hands for. Okay. Please raise your hands against. Not voting. Right. So the Lib Dem motion for 20 votes, against 29, not voting 3. The motion is lost. Item 12, Liberal Democrat motion. Councillor Paul, please move this motion, and this is also his maiden speech. So.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As this is indeed my maiden speech, I hope colleagues will allow me a moment to reflect on the path that brings me here before I formally propose the motion. First, my thanks to the people of Cannon Hill for electing me alongside councillors Ashraf and Mitchell. I am deeply grateful to the trust residents have placed in us. Cannon Hill is a fantastic place to call home, as Councillor Anna Brittas will know. From Cannon Hill Common to Morden Park, Cherrywood and Joseph Hood Rec, our ward is rich in green space and community spirit. I will work hard to protect these places and represent residents with fairness, pragmatism, energy, and yes, with a strong sense of liberalism. I've lived here in Merton for over 20 years, but I grew up in Kent in a working class family. My dad was an electrical fitter. My mum worked in the local Sainsbury's as a chef and a waitress. I went to the local secondary modern, moved to the grammar school to do sixth form, and became the first in my family to go to university. Whilst I don't pretend to be as working class today, I'm proud of my roots. They keep me grounded in what truly matters. But like many families, mine has known tragedy. My cousin killed at a young age of 7 crossing the road, and my mum taken far too early by breast cancer. So when we talk about road safety and breast cancer screening, it isn't abstract politics, it's personal. I will work with anyone in this chamber who wants to act on these issues. Now, I stood for election because I believe the system all too often holds people back. Centralised decision-making by a few politicians that hold power rather than trusting communities cannot succeed in the 21st century. A point the new MP for Makerfield seems to agree with. And that brings me to the motion before us this evening. I'm proposing this motion because at its heart, it's a simple democratic principle. that votes people cast should be reflected in the results they get. Proportional systems used successfully across most modern democracies produce fairer outcomes, strengthen accountability, and encourage collaboration. In local government, where residents expect practical solutions, that matters. Support for electoral reform is not just the Liberal Democrat calls. Senior Labour figures Andy Burnham, Sadiq Khan, Anas Sarwar and many MPs have said our voting system is outdated and unfair. A Labour conference voted for change in 22 and 2023. A poll conducted by Survation and published earlier this year on Labour List found 66% of Labour members back the shift away from first past the post in favour of PR for future elections. Tonight, this motion simply asks this council to express Merton's support for a fairer, more proportional system, a letter, a statement of principle, a recognition that every vote should matter, and it's not something you're already doing. If leading Labour figures nationally can support electoral reform, including the incoming Prime Minister, then Merton Labour can surely agree the conversation is worth having. Colleagues, democracy works best when it reflects the people it serves. At a time of low public trust, let us help restore it by giving everyone a real voice. Tonight, please vote for this motion.
This is being seconded by Councillor Smith, and this is also his maiden speech.
But I'm going to reserve my right to reply.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. As there are no further speakers on this motion, This is being seconded by Councillor Smith, and this is his maiden speech.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm delighted to deliver my maiden speech tonight as a councillor for Abbey Ward. Now, I'd hoped to be standing here 4 years ago, but narrowly missed out, becoming, I believe, one of the only candidates in history to lose an election by fewer than 10 votes to their own wife. But I'm honoured to now represent Abbey and grateful to the voters for putting their trust in me. Abbey is the cultural centre of Merton. We boast the spectacular New Wimbledon Theatre, the pioneering Polka Children's Theatre, and the wonderful Dean City Farm, which brings a slice of the countryside into our urban heart. We also enjoy beautiful green spaces like Hayden's Road Rec, Abbey Rec and Nelson Gardens, and I pay tribute to the local volunteers who keep them so vibrant. But what makes Abbey truly special is its people, and those people deserve to be properly heard. Now, the Liberal Democrats recently launched a national campaign called Fix Politics to push for urgent electoral reform. And the recent elections in Merton show exactly why that is needed. Like most here, I completely disagree with the politics of both the Reform Party and the newly populist Greens. But many residents of Merton do not. Together, those two parties received a quarter of the votes cast. Yet, those voters have no voice in this chamber tonight. Is that democracy, or do we need to fix politics? Our first past the post system enables an administration to retreat into a single party echo chamber. Look at Merton. Labour holds 100% of the executive control, despite having the backing of fewer than 1 in 3 voters. When our democratic system is so visibly unrepresentative, it is hardly surprising that residents become disillusioned and turn further to the extremes. Proportional representation fixes this. It would ensure councils are built on consensus and cross-party collaboration, that the power held in this chamber is a true and fair reflection of the wishes of our community. Having total control on a minority of the vote does not mean you have a monopoly on good ideas. As Andy Burnham said recently, we need less point scoring and more problem solving. Now, we in this chamber cannot change the national system, but we can send a powerful message. So let's back proportional representation tonight and start to fix politics right here in Merton. Thank you.
So, Councillor Bakari, would you like now to speak?
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I'm a bit disappointed that there aren't any other speakers from the other groups. I mean, if you disagree, then disagree with us well. Are there other speakers from the other groups? No, there aren't. And defend your position, defend your place in this argument. That's what politics should be about. But politics is feeling broken right now, and that's what we heard at all the doors. The level of dissatisfaction was palpable, not just here in Merton, but all over London. I've knocked on doors from Tower Hamlets to Bromley. There's one unifying message. People wanted change. Now, change is hard, but it is brave, it is bold, and it is beautiful, just like football. And it is time to accept our politics is broken, and it's time to show first past the post, the red card. But according to Labour's new Prime Minister, change is coming, and maybe PR is coming home. So do the brave thing, Labour. Support Ed Davies' calls on Andy to bring in a fairer voting system now, before the next general election, because, comrades, support your new leader's enthusiasm for PR and support this motion. Make every voice get heard and every vote count. And I say this as the only person in this chamber who's actually been elected on PR in the London Assembly. Because without that fair system, this Muslim brown woman would be cancelled. So it's wonderful to see that the Liberal Democrat motion the other week on electoral reform in City Hall passed, with Conservative and Labour Assembly members supporting the need to fix politics, a motion proposed by the Emperor of Richmond, the leader of Richmond Council, who has 100% of the seats, but with only 51% of the votes. This shows that the Liberal Democrats are not doing this for the party. They are putting people first. So Merton, let's put Merton first, and every vote should count in Merton, because every voice in Merton matters.
As there are no further speakers on this motion, Councillor Paul, would you like to use your right of reply?
I will, thank you, Madam Mayor. I had two versions, one for if we had some dissenting voices, and one if no one bothered at all. So guess which one we've got. So I am disappointed that we couldn't engage this evening in this debate, even if just for a couple of minutes. That would have been great. So I'm disappointed that no one else here wanted to say one way or another which way you wanted to go. Andy Burnham has said very clearly in the Observer newspaper at the end of May, I think it would change the political culture. I don't see how first past the post and the point scoring inherent within it lifts Britain out of this doom loop it is in. I guess you guys just want to stay in that loop. Thank you.
I will now call for a vote on the motion. Please raise your hands for. Please raise your hands against. Quiet, please. Quiet, please. Not voting. Lib Dem motion, for 17 votes, against 34, not voting 2. The motion is lost. Item number 13, Labour motion. Councillor McCabe, please move this motion.
A month ago today, I was invited to my first meeting with Matt Shaw, the new Chief Executive of GESH, George's, Epsom and St Helier NHS Trust. He asked me if I'd like to hear the good news or the bad news. I opted for the good news first, and he confirmed that the Trust had secured £57 million to expand, improve and modernise the emergency department at St Helier. I expressed my delight at this news and asked him if this was finally a recognition that the proposed fantasy hospital in Belmont was unlikely to be built in the foreseeable future. Unfortunately, the bad news was very concerning. Mr. Shaw explained that low levels of Legionella and Pseudomonas had been picked up in the water supply in the maternity block. He had been advised that the pre-war pipework would need to be replaced, and this may require a temporary decant for the entire maternity block. My response was to explain that his predecessor had made several unsuccessful attempts to close the emergency and maternity departments, and the council had always opposed those efforts on the grounds they would have a detrimental impact on Merton residents. I made it clear that such proposals would be the subject of intense scrutiny from Merton Council. Subsequently, and alongside Dame Siobhan McDonough, I've met senior staff, we've submitted a series of questions, and our health scrutiny panel has exercised its right to ask questions. So, Madam Mayor, what is the Labour motion calling for? It asks the council to acknowledge the repeated attempts to move maternity services away from St Helier, to note the detrimental impact on our community if women are required to travel further to access these services, to recognise the 30-year campaign to protect the interests of those in our community who experience health inequalities, to make absolutely clear a strong opposition to any attempt to reduce or relocate maternity services. And finally, to hold the NHS to account by ensuring proper consultation and rigorous scrutiny of the proposed changes. Madam Mayor, I urge members of this council to defend the interests of women and their babies by supporting this motion.
Thank you. This is being seconded by Councillor Daniel, and this is her maiden speech.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It is an honour and a privilege to second this motion, but first, I would like to thank the residents of St Helier Ward for placing their trust in me and electing me as one of their councillors. I am proud to be a part of the Labour team that secured an increased majority in Merton, reflecting residents' confidence in our vision for this borough. I would like to take this opportunity to pay special tribute to my late grandmother, Mary Daniel of Newgrounds Village, St Vincent and the Grenadines, who raised me from birth and taught me the values of service, resilience and compassion. I hope to honour her legacy through my service to our community. Madam Mayor, I'm also especially proud that my maiden speech is in support of protecting maternity and women's health services at St Helier Hospital. St Helier Hospital is more than just a healthcare facility. It is where generations of local babies have taken their first breath and where women have received specialist care close to home. For many families, this is their lifeline. The consequences of relocating maternity and women's health services would not be felt equally across our community. We know that Black women are significantly more likely to die during pregnancy or shortly after childbirth. We also know that many Black mothers report concerns being dismissed or not being listened to when raising symptoms during pregnancy. Behind every statistic is a mother who should have made it home to their family, a child who should have known their parent, or families left behind to pick up the pieces. At a time when these inequalities persist, continuity of care is not a luxury, it's a safeguard. The NHS itself recognizes that continuity improves outcomes. Yet, these proposals could require local mothers to travel further, navigate unfamiliar services, and face longer journeys at some of the most vulnerable moments of their lives. We should be working to reduce health inequalities, not risk making them worse. Equality does not simply mean treating everyone the same. It means recognizing when some groups face greater risks and ensuring that our decisions do not deepen those disadvantages. St. Heliers maternity and women's health services are essential. They must be protected. It's truly unsettling that members on the other side of this chamber seek to minimize and politicize the current issue by addressing matters outside the scope of this motion. For the sake of local mothers, local families, and health equality across our borough, I urge every member of this chamber to support this motion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
We have two amendments which we will take in the order they were received, starting with the Conservative amendment. Councillor Comer, please move your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I formally propose this amendment.
The amendment is being seconded by Councillor Holden.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I formally second the Conservative amendment. The Labour government effectively stopped new hospitals programme by kicking it into the next decade. The Labour government hiked up taxes to fund the payoff for their union paymasters, money which could have been better spent fixing up old hospital buildings. This is bad news for the aging St Helier Hospital estate, as demonstrated by problems at the maternity unit. Labour has treated this as a political football for 30 years and residents are sick of it. They just want a good, safe and modern hospital to be there when needed. Now that you run the government, as well as the mayor and the council, surely you can use your party internal influence to solve the St Helier Hospital modernisation once and for all. End your campaign of disinformation against the NHS and let's support the NHS to get and build facilities fit for the future for our residents.
We now move to the Liberal Democrats amendment. Councillor Paul, please move the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I formally propose our amendment. The situation at St Helier Hospital is serious. Everyone knows it's serious, and yet today we have before us a motion that is both flawed and deeply political. It neither attempts to address the fundamental issue of safe, high-quality healthcare provision for local women, nor does it address how we get to the point as local politicians we all want to get to, namely better health outcomes for the women of Merton. People across Merton don't want politicians taking liberties with issues like this. They expect us to focus on what matters, helping them live healthier lives for longer and ensuring safe, high-quality healthcare when they need it. Madam Mayor, the administration could have sought to formulate a cross-party motion on this issue, or at least one that attempted to win support from across the chamber. Instead, this motion this evening, unamended, is a do-nothing political motion. It doesn't seek to act, change anything, or seek to hold anyone to account. It simply exists to push the MP for Mitch McMordan's narrative, a narrative more interested in picking political fights and criticising NHS leaders who are doing their best with a failing estate this Labour government won't properly address until the mid-2030s, rather than dealing with the real issue and risk before us. Now, the Conservatives group's amendment overlooks their own role in the long delays to St Helier with the estate issues. After years of stalled progress in the National Hospital Programme, they maybe should be taking a more cautious approach about turning this into a political argument rather than focusing on the real issues to women's health services. Nonetheless, their criticism of the current government's decision to delay the much needed investment at St Helier is well founded. That's notwithstanding, of course, the very good news on the A&E investment. But our amendment gets to the heart of the issue. It seeks to put patient safety first. If a decant of services is required, as reading the papers for the Trust Board's meeting last week, it indeed, and concerningly seems likely, it is essential that there is both capacity at receiving trusts, but also, and crucially, a plan to return services back to St Helier at the earliest opportunity. Furthermore, it seeks to hold Gesher Board to account, ensuring that any failure to produce a plan or backsliding on a commitment to bring women's health services back to St Helier would trigger a substantial service variation requiring formal public consultation and referral to the relevant health scrutiny committees. Of course, no one wants vital maternity and healthcare services moved even temporarily, but surely members can see that the only alternative would be to treat women in an unsafe environment. Surely nobody wants that. Now, with a few remaining seconds left, I also like to point out that local breast cancer screening services for local women should also be a priority, and I note that they are not yet at the top of the council's list. So if we care about women's health services, please prioritise that issue. So I ask members, please back.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. The amendment is being seconded by Councillor Flack.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I second this amendment. But I am disappointed, not overly surprised, but I am disappointed that Labour, faced with a hospital that is genuinely falling down, chose to write a press release instead of a plan. This motion cares more about congratulating Siobhan McDonough than it does about saving lives. It welcomes, it notes, it thanks, but what it doesn't do is act. It doesn't ask the Trust to prove there's actual capacity to receive these services safely or commit to bringing them home. It doesn't hold anyone to account. It's a motion designed to be read out on a leaflet and not one designed to protect patients. Let me be clear, no one in this chamber wants to see maternity and women's health services leave St Helier. Not for a day, let alone longer. That should go without saying. But wanting something doesn't make it so. And if the Trust's board judges that a decant is required on safety grounds, then this council needs to be ready for that, not still arguing over who gets credit in a motion. Hoping it is not a plan, but being practical about what happens when it does, if it does, is. And let's also be clear about what we are actually calling for, because it's not complicated. First, if services do have to move, we want proof, not promises, that the hospitals receiving have the capacity to look after our residents safely. Kingsland's maternity unit is already stretched, and saying trust us just isn't good enough when we're talking about pregnant women and babies. Second, we want a firm plan and a firm date to bring those services home, not a vague ambition, a plan. Every temporary closure that's ever happened to an NHS service in this country teaches us the same lesson. Temporary has become a habit of becoming permanent when no one's holding anyone to account. And third, if the Trust can't give that guarantee, our amendment says this must be treated as a substantial service variation. It means that the law requires proper public consultation, it means Health Watch gets a say, and it means that the relevant health scrutiny committees in public on record. This is the kind of accountability that this motion, as tabled, conveniently avoids. None of this is unreasonable, and it's the basic minimum any trust should already be planning to provide, and the basic minimum residents should expect on behalf of their council. If Labour actually cared about women's health in Merton, they'd back the people asking the hard questions instead of writing themselves a pat on the back. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
As there are no further speakers on this motion, Councillor McCabe, would you like to use your right to reply?
Yes, Madam Mayor. One of the things that we're hearing here is that the Lib Dems want the hospital to stay, or if it's moved temporarily, we want the maternity services to come back. That's what's just been said. And yet, in a letter that was sent to the Minister of State recently and signed by Councillor Anthony Fairclough, it says, we firmly believe St Helier Hospital and the proposed new Sutton, it's Belmont, just for our interest, must be prioritised in the same manner. So what they're saying in here is that they want the services to be retained for the women of Merton. What they're saying to the minister is they want to build a third hospital in addition to Epsom and St Helier, a third hospital. And the fantasy economics of how does 3 hospitals cost less than 2? That's what they're proposing. They're telling us half the story. And
right. I will now call for a vote on the Conservative amendment first. Please raise your hands for. please raise your hands against. Please raise your hands not voting. Conservative amendment, 4 votes, against 30 votes, not voting 18 votes. The amendment is lost. The amendment falls. Can I please therefore call for a vote on the Liberal Democrat amendment? 4, please raise your hands. Against? Not voting. Liberal Democrats amendment, 22 votes, against 30 votes, non-voting 0. The amendment is lost. Both amendments fall. Can I please therefore call for a vote on the substantive motion? Is that agreed? Right, so can I call for a vote? 4, please raise your hands. Agreed? Oh, sorry, against, I do apologise. Against? Not voting? Thank you. So the amendment, the motion for Labour, a substantive motion, 32 votes, against 4 votes, and non-voting 6. So the motion is carried. Oh, sorry, 16. Non-voting 16. I do apologise. So the motion is carried. Thank you. Item 14, appointment of independent persons. Councillor Afumi, will you please move this report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Madam Mayor. I formally move this report.
Thank you. This is being seconded by Councillor Szymanski.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I formally second the appointment.
Thank you. I have no further speakers. Is the report agreed? Item 15, update on motions. Councillor Garrard, will you move this report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to formally move.
This is being seconded by Councillor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to formally second.
I have the following listed to speak. Councillor Wilson.
Young boys with homemade flags waiting for me to get back. But I first wanted to just raise a few points, a few corrections on this update, if I can. It seems the Labour administration has forgotten that Wimbledon Police Station was in fact saved by Paul Kohler MP, who took the Labour Mayor to the High Court over his plans to close it. They've also forgotten about the first consultation response on policing, where they failed to raise the threat to Wimbledon and Mitcham police stations at all. And they've chosen to overlook the emergency meeting that we called to keep the front counters open. Like the Labour leaflet, where they claimed to have saved the police stations as the front counters were still closing, the disinformation in this update only serves to further erode the public's trust in politicians. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I have no further speakers. Councillor Garrard, do you wish to use your right to reply?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'd thank the councillor for reminding us of a few facts, and I'd like to remind the opposition that we won with an increased majority. Thank you.
Right. Is the report agreed? Yeah. Okay. Item 16, quiet please. Item 16, changes to membership of committees report. Councillor Rodriguez, please move the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to formally move.
This is being seconded by Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to formally second.
Thank you. I have no further speakers. Is the report agreed? We now move on to the final item on the agenda, item 17, petitions. Councillor Garrard, please move the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to formally move the report.
This is being seconded by Councillor Stringer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I second this report.
Thank you. Is the report agreed? We have some petitions being presented. Firstly, Councillor Comer, you have a petition to present. Councillor Comer. And Councillor Paul?
Petition from the good people of Merton, over 700 members of our community who would like to see their paddling pools opened at least a few weeks earlier each year.
Thank you very much. Thank you, those have been received, and that concludes the business of this meeting. Thank you for your attendance. I now declare this meeting closed.